King Ahab was known to live lavishly in the land of Israel. He and his wicked wife Jezebel were known to do wickedness in the sight of the Lord. Whatever Ahab wanted, he took, and whatever he could not take openly by force, his evil wife Jezebel made sure he got it, even when it involved conspiracy and murder against their own citizens. This is a biblical cautionary tale about the danger of not following God's counsel. The grand palace of King Ahab stands as a testament to his wealth and arrogance. Within its opulent halls, the king basked in luxury, surrounded by flatterers and sycophants who fed his vanity. One day, the king of Judah, King Jehoshaphat, came down to Ahab, the king of Israel. When Ahab saw him, he said, "Did you know that Ramoth-Gilead belongs to us? Why are we silent and have not taken it out of the hands of the king of Syria?" Jehoshaphat, King Ahab said, "Will you join me in battle against Ramoth-Gilead?" King Jehoshaphat said, "I will be just like you. My people will be as your people, and it will be as though my horses are your horses." King Jehoshaphat requested, "First, before we go into battle, don't you have any prophets to inquire about the word of the Lord? Let's find out what God has to say about this." King Ahab agreed. King Ahab then called in his 400 prophets and asked them, "Shall I go into battle against Ramoth-Gilead, or shall I not?" All of the prophets spoke on one accord, "King, you shall go up and succeed." King Jehoshaphat was not satisfied with the resolution the prophets came up with, and he asked King Ahab, "Is there not a real prophet of the Lord besides these 400 men that we can inquire of him?" Ahab replied, "There is one, Micaiah, Imla's son, who we can ask, but I hate him. He only prophesies bad things about me. He never has anything good to say." King Jehoshaphat said, "Well, don't let the king say so. Let's ask him." Then King Ahab hurried to have Micaiah brought in. While the messenger was prepping Micaiah to come to the king, he coached him and said, "All of the 400 prophets have already told the king that going into battle will bring him success. So just go in and agree with them and tell the king it is safe." Micaiah said, "As God lives, what the Lord says is what I'll speak." So Micaiah came to King Ahab and King Jehoshaphat at their request. King Ahab asked, "Shall we go against Ramoth-Gilead, or shall we not?" Micaiah replied sarcastically, "Yes, go up and prosper." And Ahab said sternly to Micaiah, "How many times do I have to tell you? Don't tell me anything but the truth in the name of the Lord?" Micaiah responded, "Fine. I saw all of Israel scattered like sheep on the hills, like sheep that have no shepherd." Then the Lord said, "These men have no master. Let them return to their home." King Ahab said to Jehoshaphat, "Did I not tell you that he would only prophesy evil concerning me?" Micaiah went on, "Hear now the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord seated on his throne, and all the host of heaven around him. The Lord said, 'Who will go and convince Ahab, so that he may go up and fall in Ramoth-Gilead?' Then came a spirit and volunteered and said, 'I will go, and I will persuade him, and be a lying spirit in the mouths of all his prophets.' Then the Lord said, 'You shall persuade him, and prevail also.' Then the Lord permitted him to carry out this mission. It was because of all the idol worship, evil, and murder of innocent people that God allowed this." Micaiah continued, "The Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouths of all these prophets, and God has spoken evil concerning you." Just then, one of the prophets, named Zedekiah, felt very insulted and harshly slapped Micaiah on the cheek. He said, "Which way went the lying spirit from me to speak to you?" "You will see," said Micaiah. "That day you will go into the inner chambers just to hide yourself." Enraged by Micaiah's words, King Ahab orders the prophet's imprisonment, refusing to heed the warning of impending disaster. "Tell the governor that he is to stay in prison and have nothing good to eat nor drink until I come back safely," shouted King Ahab. "If you return safely, then the Lord has not spoken by me at all," yelled Micaiah. He tried one last time to plead with those around him while being taken off to prison, but no one listened. Ahab told Jehoshaphat, "I know what to do. I will remove my kingly robes and disguise myself and go into battle as a regular soldier, but you keep your robes on," he said to King Jehoshaphat, and he listened. Against the revelation of the Lord from the mouth of Micaiah, both kings, Ahab and Jehoshaphat, went up to Ramoth-Gilead. Unknown to Ahab, the king of Syria only had him in mind that day. He commanded 32 of his captains, who had access to his chariots, to only target and fight with King Ahab. And it came to pass, when the Syrian captains of the chariots from Ramoth-Gilead saw King Jehoshaphat, they thought for sure they had caught King Ahab. When they turned around to fight against him, suddenly King Jehoshaphat realized they were coming after him, and he screamed, "Ah!" Just then, the Syrian captains realized it was not King Ahab, so they quickly turned around and continued their pursuit. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, as Ahab was standing around, out of nowhere, a man randomly drew his bow and shot a single arrow into a crowd. That arrow hit King Ahab in a space between his armor. He began to bleed out and told one of his soldiers to help him off of the battlefield and into his chariot. King Ahab eventually died in that chariot, just as Micaiah foretold when he delivered the word of the Lord to him. This marked the beginning of the end of the evil reign of King Ahab and his wicked queen Jezebel. Let this biblical story serve as a reminder that having people who counsel and speak the truth in our lives is of more value than having many people in our lives who tell us what we want to hear but do not know the truth or have the wisdom that only comes from God. God bless.